What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Rip the Net. We are excited to be with you for another episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this episode, man. It really goes a long way. I'm Eric.
Right?
I'm Alexi.
And yeah, how are you guys doing this week, man? What have y'all been up to? What have y'all been watching?
World Cup. I know y'all do not care, but my team is in it, and the financial incentive to do well in the Club World Cup is ridiculous. Whether or not it's some shady business practice, at this point, I don't care. Apparently, we've already made 50 mil just from getting this far, so I'm gassed, bro. We've just beat Benfica. Low key, that game was suspicious. You had it got suspended in like the 85th minute after we were destroying them. 1-0. That doesn't sound crazy, but we were pretty dominant. Like, they didn't look like they were going to come back. It got suspended because of like lightning or something. And they came back all of a sudden. Like, I didn't know when they were coming back. So like I missed as soon as they came back. And apparently then Benfica just got a pen, a very shady pen, based on a handball where the dude wasn't even facing the ball. He got a handball. And they got a pen. Di Maria scored it. And then it went to extra time. But then we destroyed them 4-1 in extra time. So, handle business. That's what I'm on.
Hey, man.
Ain't nothing but a little bit of straightening.
All I'm going to say is the 50 mil will not be worth it when you got your starting roster all injured with something in the beginning of the season.
That is true. My biggest issue with the Club World Cup is just too much football being played, bro. It's actually not good for the players, but, they got to make money. No, not the players. The organizations, they got to make money,
Thanks. Speaking of shady business in sports, though, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's another NBA player who's currently under an investigation for potential, like manipulation of games and gambling. It's Malik Beasley on the Detroit Pistons. So just want to put that out there because it's an ongoing investigation. I don't think he did anything wrong. I've looked into it. I think he should be all right. But it's not as obvious as like the Jonte Porter situation that took place recently. But I just want to put that out there. That is also going on in the NBA world. So
dude, for any sport, that's got to be the stupidest thing you could do. Like, you're already paid like, $20K, $300K a week, whatever, thousands of dollars a week, and then going out of your way to be like, yeah, let me bet on myself or bet on my team, make something happen. Like, it's so dumb, bro.
Yeah. Crazy, man. And the NBA actually still has a referee that's employed who was literally investigated by the FBI and found guilty for having his hand in, I don't know if he was found guilty, I don't know if he did any prison time, but he was definitely involved in a gambling scheme, and he is still employed by the league. So, crazy. We live in a very crazy, evil world.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it's called Flagrant Foul on Netflix if anyone's interested in watching. It's a pretty good documentary. But yeah, man. Anyways, glad to know we live in a corrupt world. But speaking of corruption, speaking of ripping people off, I was talking to you guys before we started recording this, and I know a few episodes back we were uncovering and just talking about the WWE Cactus Jack collab. And I will say, around the time that came out, I think I paid for an order. So, and that was like back around, I want to say January, February. So we're in end of June now. So about 4 months later, my order finally came in like maybe 2 weeks ago. So took crazy long for shipping. This WWE Cactus Jack collab that seemed to have been, it didn't seem like an exclusive drop. So maybe that is why it took long. Maybe they had to make a ton of t-shirts. But I did order a CM Punk t-shirt. Can't really tell by the camera, but the front of the tee is underwhelming. It just has like the straight edge lettering, kind of like how he has a tattoo of it on his torso. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And on the back side, it has like his like hand wrap with like the X on the hand wrap. It's a pretty cool t-shirt. It looked cool on the internet, but I will say, man, in case there's anyone there who did not have their mind made up, I don't know how many of y'all are out there, but I should have learned from my previous Cactus Jack t-shirts. Well, t-shirt, I only had one, but it was terrible quality. I didn't like it. I think I was just hopeful that like, and I've never purchased like a WWE t-shirt, like a shirt that's made by WWE, at least as of recent. I do have some other things from like a few years back, like in my closet, but nothing like new. So I was hoping maybe with, I guess, with the years, there's been like that they would have solid quality, and the quality itself isn't terrible. Granted, this is my first official time wearing it, but the size, it ran kind of small, so I'm not loving the way it fits. It's looks pretty like just a pretty tight shirt. Like I ordered a large and it feels like it fits like a medium, and I don't know, I'm just not loving. It's just like think of like a Hanes cotton tee shirt that runs small. Like nothing significant about it, nothing that screams big collab or worth buying. So in case there's anyone out there who is considering buying or was curious about how that drop came out, man, I just got my tee, man, and I'm gonna say it's a regret. It's definitely a regret. There's a reason why I'm wearing this through a screen and not like, you know, when I'm going out or something. It's just not a fan of it, but just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about Cactus Jack merch in general. I believe it's probably, you know, Travis and his team who made it, not WWE. And like, I feel like their stuff on tour has always been solid generally, like for tees. Hoodies definitely overpriced like crazy. But yeah, the sizing over the years has been so inconsistent. Like I had the same issue where, you know, I got a large and it felt like a medium, and you know, when you're paying like $40 or $35 or whatever it is, and then waiting literal months for it to ship, and then it comes and you're disappointed like that, it's like, bro, why would I ever purchase from them again? So I feel you on that. That's tough. That is tough.
Okay. Did you order
sleeves, man? Like,
yeah,
there's
like
no
that
way.
is.
That's rough. I can't.
But what were you saying, Dre? My fault. I cut you
I
off.
was gonna say, because once you were speaking about Cactus Jack, that reminded me that he just dropped the like the Barcelona kit too.
I did
you
cop
get
that
to Alexa?
jersey. I
Alexa?
did
Yeah.
cop. Alexa's crazy.
Yeah, Alexa, yeah, I might have woken someone's phone up.
Like
Listening.
Amazon. No, I did cop that jersey, and I want to say it said 8 to 12 weeks. So I think, I'm guessing by the end of the summer or like beginning of fall, it'll come
Which
in.
is unlucky, because you would hope to be able to rock that over the summer, but it's kind of tough.
You know, I'll make do. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on the quality of that. That's like made by Nike, so I imagine it would be that quality. If it's not, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be very pissed.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. The fault is mine. You know, I'm angry at WWE. I'm angry at Cactus Jack. But it's my fault. I was gullible enough to purchase it. I think I was just excited because the cool collab. The
No, don't put it on you, man. That's exactly it. You saw a product you liked. Everything made you think it was gonna be a good product, and then, you know.
I've been fooled twice, so I deserve this this humbling experience. But you know, with all that being said, man, you know, will I continue to rock it? I really don't have. I do have a choice, but you know, we'll see. I have an interesting trip, WWE related, planned in August, and maybe I'll wear this there. Who knows? But
Maybe, man. Whatever you do, don't put it in the dryer, man.
Yeah, exactly.
One cycle in the dryer and you are cooked.
Yeah, exactly. So we shall see, man. But cool. All right. Well, first order of business today, I did want to talk about. We're recording this the week after the NBA draft. It's always not a big event, I would say, but it is. I think this year there's been a lot of buzz going around. Cooper Flag was drafted #1 overall by the Dallas Mavericks. He's been in the news, and He's been his name has been buzzing for about 2 years. So he finally got drafted. He's on his way to the NBA, and there were just a ton of other names that also got drafted. So you have Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, son of Ron Harper, which pretty cool. You have a lot of second generation talent making their way into the league. We also had VJ Edgecombe, who was drafted to the Sixers, who I personally am going to be rooting for. I just saw clips of him like just working out and like being in the lab, and I'm just really excited. Even though I'm not a Sixers fan, I'm excited to see what how his career unfolds. I don't know. He may be my favorite player out of this draft, but it's neither here nor there. But what I do want to get to is Ace Bailey, who was also playing for Rutgers with Dylan Harper. And for those who may not know, those who may not be tuned into college basketball, Rutgers was a team this season that was buzzing all over the internet. They had a lot of high expectations. Granted, they didn't really make it far in the March Madness tournament, but they did have, I would say, a somewhat successful season. So they played well. They had two big names. This is a D1 school that typically isn't in the college basketball headlines, but they had two of the best players out of the entire country playing for their team. So just cool as a native New Yorker to see a local university really popping in the college basketball world. But we are here to talk about Ace Bailey, man, and I'm not sure how much you guys have heard about what's been going on, but long story short, prior to the draft, he was making demands. He wants to be the primary scorer, the primary star on the team that he is drafted by. So it looks like he was making demands to be drafted by the I believe it was the Brooklyn Nets, the New Orleans Pelicans, and there was a third team that let's see. It was the Brooklyn Nets, Pelicans, and I'm trying to get the other team. Looks like the Wizards, the Washington Wizards. The reason why I forgot that. Irrelevant team. But he wanted those teams to draft him. Regardless, though, the Utah Jazz ended up taking him number 5 overall, despite the fact that he didn't work out for them. He had also famously declined a workout with the 76ers, so he had made I think dinner reservations with them, and then 48 hours prior to him having to meet the front office, he ended up canceling. So what we see here, we're seeing I don't even know if it's appropriate to call him a rookie yet, because he hasn't even stepped foot on an NBA court. But we have a player who has not played a minute, who has not played an NBA minute, has not played summer league, has not stepped on the court, and they're making demands on where they want to be drafted to, and they're canceling meetings with front office execs. So I wanted to ask you both, and I just want to know, what do you guys feel about this? What does this maybe say something bigger? I know people have been talking about the NIL deals and how maybe you have a lot of players making money now, so that's maybe making people move a little bit different. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys have any opinions? Did you guys hear about this in the news prior to us linking up?
Yeah, I wasn't tuned into the draft. I think the draft has become a terrible snooze fest of an event in recent years. So I could not care less to even watch it. Or I knew Cooper Flag. I also mentioned earlier in the podcast, maybe a previous episode, that I don't also follow college sports much. So I'm not super invested in who's coming out. I just, once they actually start playing, then I'll see, okay, who's this? Other than the massive names who come out, like Zion when he came out, Wemby when he came over, things like that. But I heard of Cooper Flag. I knew he was the surefire number 1 white dude who's gonna replace Luka in Dallas. They like their lineage of white ballers out there. So I knew he was going first, and after that, I honestly didn't care. But I will say, this situation I'd heard of, but like not directly. Like I never saw any headline about it or anything like that. But I just saw a couple of memes related to it, and I was like, I'm not sure what this is like truly referring to, but I just thought it was funny. Like I saw one, it was like a picture of Bailey, his handshake with Adam Silver, and it was like, if you ask me if I'm coming to the function and I text you back this, just know I ain't coming. So it was because the dude just looked like so like straight faced in the photo with Adam Silver. So like I saw that, so I had a little bit of context that like he was ungrateful. That's all. That's all really I saw, but I didn't see any of the stuff about him not reporting or any of this background information. But overall, though, I don't know. I think if you're willing to work your entire life to get to this point and make it to the league enough that you were a top 5 pick to go into the league, I honestly don't think, like, at least thinking from my perspective, like, I could not care less. Obviously, there's some cities you love to live in more than others. But if I know my entire life I'm working hard to this one goal, and then I'm finally getting there, succeeding, and like being a lottery pick, like overachieving, I could not care less what team I'm playing for. One, the NBA is volatile. Even if you go to the best destination ever, you could be shipped out of there in a few months. They could say, now we're trading you in a package, whatever. Like, I don't think it's that deep that you have to go fiending for a specific city. And two, if you go to the place, even if you don't want to live there, whatever, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to live in Utah. If you watch this and you're from Utah, no disrespect, but all disrespect, I'm never stepping foot in Utah. Maybe I'll pass through in a layover or something, especially the way I heard they treat certain people out there, those Jazz fans. I'm very good off the Utah Jazz and living in that city, stepping in Salt Lake. Who wants to live in a place where they're salty, bruh? Like, what the hell is that? That doesn't even make sense. But either way, even if I got drafted to Utah and I don't want to be there, you can grind, you can ball out, you can become the number 1 guy there, and you can, in a few years, force your way out of there. We've seen other superstars do it. They just grind out the first few years of their career, and then they demand a trade once they get the option. Some of them, go for the money. They go for the supermax, whatever. But most of them, I shouldn't say most. It's a pretty good split. But some of them also, they're like, okay, this rookie contract's up. I'm out of here. It's really in the scope of your career. If you think you have longevity in the career, it's not that long to play a few years in Utah. And I think it's a cool opportunity to be the key figure in a rebuild type setup. So I know he was hoping to go to a different location and be like the number 1 guy, or be in a potentially more interesting city or a better location, all this kind of stuff. But I feel like if you're at this point in time, at this point in your career, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter? You at this point, you can go to Brooklyn and they could be like, nah, we're good off you as soon as a better opportunity comes up. And I think especially in those bigger markets, they're more likely to have superstars who want to go there. So you could be that key part of the package to get a superstar there. No one wants to go to Utah, bro. I'm telling you, I promise you, Bailey, no superstar wants to go to Utah. You're not getting traded out of there, so you can set up a foundation. You can have a solid few years to really become that guy, and then you can get your trade and be the key part of a trade somewhere else. So I don't know. I think I've been seeing the ungrateful memes, and I think it is a bit ungrateful. The fact that someone even wants to draft you, I think at that point you should be like, okay, this is me being set for at least maybe not generational wealth like up front. That's just to go get like a better contract later, but at least the beginning to that. So it is a bit ungrateful in my opinion.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you're saying. I definitely saw this outside of just the sports sphere. Just because I think there were a lot of clips from that draft night of like people not looking happy, like where they're being drafted, maybe swearing when they found out who they're being drafted to. And it's like, I'm of the similar mindset, maybe a bit harsher, where it's like, bro, like you are about to be paid an exorbitant amount of money. Like literally it will change your life. Like forget what team it is. Like obviously people got preferences, whatever, but you're in the NBA now. You're in the pro leagues. You hit the peak. Now it's just like how much further you can take it within that peak. Just like seeing the clips, like, again, I don't know, maybe there were a lot of happy people that night too who, you know, didn't go viral for that, but it was just kind of sad to see. I was like, damn, like, is this the type of ego too you're also gonna have to deal with on these teams or in the sport? I mean, everyone always, like, going back to soccer for a second, like, between Ronaldo and Messi, like, there are people who love the ego of Ronaldo, but there's also the people who love Messi for him just being the nonchalant king, man. And so I think that's something you need in sport. You need a balance, and it seems like the scales are tipped a bit in one way of that egocentric personality.
100%. And I think what you were referring to initially was that Toronto Raptors pick, Colin Murray Boyle, I think that's his last name, or Boyles. Colin Murray Boyles is his name. But yeah, dropping an F-bomb after getting drafted, and then yes, this Ace Bailey situation, which it's very interesting to me because he hasn't really spoken to the media much. He did give like a little bit of a response during the draft press conference, and where he pretty much confirmed that like this was out of his control and that, like, you know, he just has to roll with the punches. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. I feel like I'm usually very like pro player, and I'm all for player empowerment, but this really did rub me the wrong way. I just think it's just screams, like you guys said, it's just of a very like high ego. Like it just doesn't sit right with me. And the fact that we have a player who had his name buzzing, like I said, he and Dylan Harper were buzzing in the NBA or in the basketball world because they were teammates at Rutgers. And now you have the opportunity to make it into the league. You're drafted top 5, man. Top 5. Most people don't even reach that kind of pinnacle, and you're declining, or like you're very adamant, or at least it's very clear that you don't want to be with the team that drafted you. And it's very unfortunate. I think I mentioned how NIL deals may have something to do with it, and I think what this is all gonna cause is you already have old heads, or we could even say like NBA vets, right? Doesn't necessarily like apply to just people who are retired or people who are over a certain age, but we have a new generation of athletes who know what it is to get paid for playing in college, you know, and that is a very recent change that has taken place. And you have people who feel I think it's a very controversial topic. You have people who will have polar opposite opinions, and specifically NBA players, right? I personally will say, like, I think if you're generating a certain amount of revenue, you should be entitled to get a cut of what you're generating. I'm all for players getting paid, but what you're going to have now because of something like this is now people are going to be looking at the NIL deals potentially and being like, man, like, is this harmful for the sport? Because now we're creating such huge egos in a sport where players are already notorious for having big egos, for already being kind of like the driving force of the landscape of the entire league, right? Very recently, like during that Luka trade, something that I was saying was that, like, even though I didn't agree with the Mavs' decision to trade Luka, they were kind of putting their foot down because they were very adamant and just very decided, and they had decided that they did not like the fact, or apparently according to what the news sources say, right? This is the news, or the story that was delivered to the general public, was that they were not happy with Luka's conditioning. So I was saying that I appreciated, or at least respected, the front office's decision to kind of put their foot down and demonstrate that, okay, yes, you are a very talented player. You are a huge player that generates a ton of revenue. However, we are the ones in charge, so we are going to be the ones calling the shots. And in that same breath, that is why I respect the Utah Jazz for drafting Ace Bailey, because as a team, you should always be looking to acquire the best player possible, right? You should be looking to acquire, yes, somebody who's going to fit your roster, but you're a team like the Utah Jazz. You don't really have much going for yourself. You're already in the top 5. you likely don't have much going for your team. So I'm very happy at the fact that they made this move. There is always the opportunity for a trade potentially, but it looks like they're going to be holding him down for at least a few years. So I'm excited to see what takes place there. But it just really upsets me because there's a ton of players who I think benefit from things like the NIL deals, right? That's kind of what I was saying earlier, where a lot of people are going to be looking at the way college athletes have been able to monetize their play. And another reason why I like it is because there's a lot of players who would had it not been for these deals, would have never seen any type of money come out of their game, right? Out of the fact that they're playing college sports. But now there is an opportunity for people to receive some sort of compensation, even though they may not end up going to play for the pros, right? Because I know that's also a common thing that happens. You don't find a roster spot in an NBA team. You don't find a roster spot overseas. It's a very common path. And so I'm all for players getting paid. My fear is that now you're giving ammo to the older generation, or to just people in general who are not for these college athletes to get paid. Because you already have these athletes who are millionaires before they even step foot on a professional court. So I think it's just a sad development. I'm not liking the way, and granted, these are the guinea pigs, right? This is the first batch of players that we're gonna get that know what it is to get paid in college. But regardless, it does make me feel sorry for the other players who are compensated and are following all the rules, or like are doing things as like following accordingly, and not having a big ego. You know what I mean? So that's just where my head's at. I don't know if you guys have any reactions or comments on that.
No, I just think too that, kind of adding on to what you just said, like it kind of leaves a sour taste in the mouth too of like Utah fans. Not that I care, but like now you're gonna have to work even harder to win over Utah fans, because now everyone's seeing this. Everyone knows you clearly don't want to be there. So now when you rock up, instead of them being excited, this is our top 5 pick that's supposed to hopefully revitalize our franchise. Now we got this guy who clearly doesn't want to be here, is just waiting for his opportunity to get out. You have to work twice as hard at least to win over Utah fans. So you have to be better than even what they thought you would have been coming in. And also you have to work twice as hard to show other teams that you might potentially want to go to that you're someone who can actually fit within an organization. So some other team is like, okay, maybe in a few years when he becomes available, we might want to get Ace Bailey. We're like, will he want to come to our franchise? Will he want to come to our city? Will he think he can fit in our project? Because now apparently he has all the opinions on whether or not this is the right fit. And I do agree with you in terms of player empowerment in general. But I think that's for players who have earned something in the league. I think if you're coming in, honestly, if you're a rookie, empower these nuts, bro. Like, no one cares about what you got to say. You literally, this is your first year. You just have to come in and prove that you can play on this level. Because there's literally no guarantee. We've seen number 1 picks come in and flop. Cooper Flag could be a flop. You never know. Not that I'm saying he will be, but like, these things are never guaranteed, especially with the number 1 picks. You think all these best players coming out of college, they're not watching like the lottery selection thing, like hoping it's not some terrible city? You think Kyrie Irving wanted to play in Cleveland? Who wants to go to Cleveland? Let's be real. Who wants to go to Cleveland, bro? But it just is what it is. Once you see that, okay, the chips fell like that, I'm going to have to go there and prove myself. It is what it is. It's not the best city in the world, but I'm going to start my life there, and I'm not going to play there forever. That's what it is. Only few players ever play for the same team for their whole career. So now you're fighting an uphill battle over not just being a rookie coming in, having to show that you can actually play on the NBA level. Now you have to prove that you can be a team player or organization player, just a good egg in the locker room, all this kind of stuff. Now there's going to be narratives waiting for you. So you kind of screwed yourself over in that sense. But at the end of the day, if he's good enough, all this can be washed away, I think, in the future. So we'll see.
It'll be an uphill battle for sure, and we'll see how his career turns out. But yeah, it's interesting because he's going to the Utah Jazz, a team that seems to be retooling. They just traded away Colin Sexton, their starting point guard, and they're looking to be moving Jordan Clarkson, who is a veteran point guard who comes off the bench. So I'm very interested to see where they go. You have him now joining forces with Lauri Markkanen, who is an all-star forward, and he himself is also a forward. So you have a very interesting front court. I don't expect him to be performing at all by any means, but I'm sure part of his frustration is due to the fact that he is going to be sharing the court with an NBA All-Star, and he may be fearful on like how much he can really prove. But the fact that they just traded away Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, two players who got a decent amount of touches, considering they played as guards, you know, I'm very interested to see where or how he just unfolds and how he develops, because he's side by side with an all-star, which a lot of rookies at that talent level don't have. It's pretty rare for them to find themselves in those situations. I think you can say the same thing for Cooper Flag, who's going to be sharing the court with Kyrie and AD, right? And
we already know that was rigged. We already know that was rigged.
Course,
Match
100%.
never got. Yeah, that was rigged, bro.
Yeah, neither here nor there, but you know, very true. Looks like we don't have to get into that, but yeah, VJ Edgecombe drafted to the Sixers. You're sharing the court with potentially Paul George and Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Like, that is crazy. Like, that is crazy talent to be surrounded by. And so I'm very interested to see how things unfold here, and we'll see, man. We'll wait and see. But anything else on this topic?
Sure.
Cool, man. All right. Well, next order of business, man. We wanted to talk. Actually, Alexi, do you want to introduce this topic?
Sure. So, with summertime approaching, man, you gotta have some summertime fits. Not springtime fits, not winter fits, not fall fits. Summer fits. And as we know, with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, the trends be changing all the time, and it can be very hard to keep track. So for this segment, we want to talk a little bit about, for us, what we're doing for the summer. And by no means is this influenced by what the trends are or anything, but just what we think might be good options for you, some options to wear. And I will start by saying I actually would have had to wear for work recently, which is jorts. Now, before you get on my case, I've been a jorts hater my entire life. My entire life. The kid I hated the most in middle school wore jorts, and I associated them with him. So that was already just a no-go. But, you know, when I was told, hey, man, if it's hot out and you're wearing shorts, it's got to be jorts and below the knees. Two things I'm uncomfortable with. I'd be wearing shorts above the knees and just not jorts. So I was like, all right, this is an extra challenge now. So I wore them for the first time, and I won't lie, man. My life changed in that moment. I was like, hold on, there's something here. There's something here. The shape, the way they fit, the drape, and you know, the footwear you can match them with. There's some real potential there. And then the wash of the denim as well, that has a big impact too. So I personally like darker wash denim, so like a dark blue or a black, but honestly, a light wash denim could also work out pretty well. And you don't necessarily have to wear jorts for the summer, but what I am saying is think of an article of clothing that maybe you haven't been comfortable with in the past, or maybe you have bad ideas with, and think, hold on, let me just try it. Let me thrift a piece for $5-10 and just see how it looks if I try to style it properly. So I would recommend just pushing yourself a little bit in the direction that makes you a bit uncomfortable.
That's good, man. I will say too, man. Well, when I think of George, I think of John Cena, man. So I'm glad to see that he
Fair
has
enough.
some kind of influence in the fashion world these days. But me too, man. I think I felt I used to wear jorts as a kid, so I was never like a crazy hater on them, but obviously I saw how much they became kind of memed, and I think we all fall victim to like the trends. We all fall victim to what the status quo is. I think that's a given. But I will say too, this is gonna be my first summer in a while wearing jorts again, and I will say I'm a fan of it, man. I'm not. I thought I was gonna be a little bit uncomfortable by them, but uh, it because it just gives heavy like early mid 2000s vibes, and I'm always a big fan of that kind of oversized look. I think I've always been appreciative of that, but to see it come back so quickly, I think has kind of been interesting, and it's kind of been funny. And I think a part of the reason why I was a little bit skeptical about the whole thing was that I think I'm getting to the point, or I'm getting to the age where I'm like, man, like I don't know if I'm young enough to be wearing what the kids are wearing, because this is very much so what I feel like the high school students are wearing, what people in college are wearing. Granted, I'm only a few years removed from college, but there's times where I'm like, man, I don't know if this is something that I can rock with. But you know, I also don't want to be one of those like adults who get stuck in like a certain era of fashion, which I think I've seen before as well. But yeah, man, I'm all for the jorts, man. I'm all for the I feel like I find myself wearing a lot of like plain tees, but occasionally I will wear like a graphic tee here and there. And I will say what the jorts have made me more comfortable doing that I haven't been comfortable with in the past, it's wearing like bulkier sneakers, or sneakers that are just a little bit bigger, like something like a pair of like Jordan 6s, which I previously was not comfortable really wearing a whole lot. I think with jorts, because they kind of do have that drapey look, my fear with a shoe like the Jordan 6s, or even like a pair of like foam posits, for example, which I also own, is that like I don't want to feel like I'm wearing like a boot on my sneaker. Like I don't want my shoe to like overtake my outfit by so much. But the jorts, because they do kind of have like this like baggy shape, I think it makes it so that the sneaker isn't super overwhelming. And I think we're living in that era where we're seeing a lot of boot like sneakers being worn with shorts. I know people are doing the Tims with shorts look. I think Lil Yachty is to be thanked for that, depending on how you feel about that trend. But it's interesting. But I've been a fan of it so far. You know, like this whole look. There's some things that I just will never get on board with, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But I will say that the jorts and the tees and the sneakers, I think it's a very like standard kind of outfit, but I've been liking it, man. It's I've seen the tides are changing, and I'm not hating it. I think I'm liking it so far.
Interesting. I will say, for one, I am not wearing jorts. Not that I have anything against jorts. You know, I, like Eric, grew up with the jort goat and Cena, so, and I always had a soft spot for them, but I never. Maybe I owned a pair of jorts when I was a kid, but I haven't worn any jorts at least in the last 10 years. I think if I'm gonna wear a short, because I very, very rarely wear shorts outdoors. Like I always wear pants. I can't stand the mosquitoes coming for me. So I take any protection I can. So I only wear shorts really at home. But if I were to wear shorts outdoors, it would be cargo shorts. I know. And if you could not tell by other fashion segments we've done, I know nothing about trends. Like I clearly do not keep up. So I don't know if people wear cargo shorts or they don't. But
that's the beauty of it, though. That's the beauty of it.
Clearly,
you know what? We need to get away from the trend cycle, man. That's what's causing all the overconsumption and people not having their own style, because they're just chasing the trend.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. For me, it's all about majorly about utility. That's why the cargo shorts, I need the pockets. I need the extra pockets. Even in the summer, I'll push it, and you guys know this. I'll push it. I'll wear jackets or a windbreaker or a hoodie or something as much as possible for the extra pockets. Y'all know I will wear a hoodie, and toward the end of May, I'll be pushing it, bro. But even if it's less than 75, tomorrow I'm going out with a windbreaker just to have extra pockets. Like today I went out with this jersey, and I didn't have the pockets like up here, and I was missing them badly. I just need the utility of pockets, but I did have my cargo pants, so I had those extra pockets. You know, so I always carry a bunch of extra stuff that I need access to. Like I don't like having stuff that I have to go in my bag for. Like I want to, especially because I walk around with a camera a lot too. I like just being able to reach into my pocket, grab it, things like that. So I would wear a cargo short over a jort personally, but I do like jorts. I can see them. I see them come back a lot. I will say something I have been wearing, if we're talking about summer, is I'm bringing back out the bucket hat. You know, y'all know I'd be spamming the bucket hat when the time comes. Especially because I have a massive head, and then I also now have long hair as well. Almost no hat ever fits my head. Like I've been blessed recently to find some beanies that fit my head for the winter. But I found this website, no plug because, you know, they ain't paying us. Actually, shout out to all my big head fellas out there. I'm going to give you a little game right now. Odd Job Hats. It's a website I found. I bought a bucket hat from them maybe 5 years ago at this point. They have larger hats for people with massive heads. I bought a bucket hat from them. I've been spamming it ever since, bro. It fits perfectly. It just I love it so much. Odd Job Hats. Shout out to y'all. If you want to sponsor us, we'll take it. But that's free promo for you. Bucket hats, that's on my vibe. Because no fitted is fitting my head. No snapback. I'm gonna have to push it to the last button, and then all of a sudden it's bursting open when I'm out and outdoors. Like it's not worth it, bro. So for me, bucket hats in the summer for sure.
I respect that, man. I miss my bucket hats. They're in my storage unit right now. But that's a solid pick, honestly. I want to say it was trending a couple years ago, but that's another one that's timeless, you know, and utility, you know, you getting the neck coverage too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Eric, I know you mentioned, you know, some pieces that you're definitely not tapping into. What would those be?
Well, I will say we are in the year 2025. I think last year was the year that Sambas really took over, and I think we're still seeing that they're super popular throughout. I see them everywhere. You know, I see them all throughout. If I'm out and about in New York City, I see them just about on every corner. Everybody's got a pair of Sambas, it seems. And it's not just guys, it's girls included. It's really just a universal type of footwear that I see a lot now.
Low key more girls than the guys I see. Yeah, with the Sambas.
Yeah, and it's the jorts Sambas combination that I see a lot too. So it's it really goes along with kind of what we were talking about just now. And I think last year as well, or maybe even at this point 2 years ago, is when I saw soccer jerseys were kind of becoming just part of just like everyday fashion. And yeah, Dre's wearing one right now, and I've always been a fan of those. I am always happy to see people rocking that. So like, you know, there's jorts with soccer jerseys, which I think I'm all for. But one recent, I think, rise in or one thing that I've seen recently grow in popularity is the Nike T90 footwear to be worn in combination with the jorts, and maybe with a soccer tee here and there. But I think it's also a type of shoe that I see people kind of wear on its own with like a regular tee, like with a regular top. And I will say, like, I grew up playing soccer, and so T90s like hold a very special place in my heart. But seeing them being worn casually, I just don't think I can get with. It's I'm not like, they're very similar to the Samba in the sense that they have like that narrow shape, but I don't know, man. I think they to just put it plainly, they look ugly to me when they're worn casually. And I think it's not, I think seeing how quickly a thing like an article can just catch fire and become so trendy, I think there's a conversation to be had about how do we feel about people who don't even know that these are soccer shoes and then they're wearing them, and then they're making it part of like their everyday fits, man. How do we feel about that? I don't know if I can speak on it as much. I just will say, as far as how do I think it looks, I'm not a fan of it. You have a lot of people wearing these obscure colors, like it's like you have golden sneakers, you have like I've seen orange T90s, and like I don't know, man. I'm just not a fan of them. But I'm curious, have you guys seen this around? Like, do you guys have opinions?
Yeah. I mean, I don't take issue if people like don't know their soccer shoes. I mean, it's like people wear Jordans and they don't know Jordan, you know? At the end of the day, that's how it's going to be. I think my issue, I don't even want to say issue, but I mean, it's the Samba that started this whole trend, because the Samba originally, you know, was a bit of a soccer lifestyle shoe. And now we're going even further into the niches of like looking at archival sportswear shoes, so specifically and more recently soccer, like indoor soccer shoes, dance, like ballet shoes has been a big thing too. If you've seen Bad Bunny's collaboration with Adidas. I mean, it's literally called the Ballerina, I think. Like, it's based off of that. A lot of low profile shoes right now are trending. And for me, the T90, like, that's kind of pushing the edge of it, because that is really like, wow, okay, we really like can't do anything new and creative and innovative. So we're just going to go all in on this Y2K vibe that has been going on for like 5 years now, it feels like. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I like when companies are able to do like cool twists on these models. A good example would be like the Wales Bonner Adidas collaborations, where they've taken these archival sportswear models and used really interesting materials or colorways and made it something cool. I just think Nike's been fumbling in general, I feel like, the past couple of years, and them choosing to bring back the T90 and even all the jerseys like with the 90 on it, like it's kind of cool in that, like, oh, back in the day, but then it's also, it loses its luster in the same way. And I'm not saying that as like some type of gatekeeper. I'm just saying it of like, you know, in our current context, that jersey and that look does not have the same vibe as it did back then. So that was a bit of a tangent, but I thought that was important to bring up.
No, fair. I did not know this was a trend. Clearly, like I said earlier, I haven't seen anyone wearing these T90 things. We also haven't been looking out for it. Like the Samba thing. I guess maybe it hasn't gotten to that point yet, because the Samba, even though I didn't know that was necessarily picking up, I literally.
It's just the TikTok
corner.
Kids right now doing the T90s.
Okay,
it's not like on the streets. I haven't seen them on the streets, but I'm telling you, like, from what I've seen from like sneaker Twitter and stuff, like Nike's gonna be pumping colorways out. So
gotcha. Okay.
It will come.
And there's always a little delay from the TikTok hype to the on the street hype. So I guess it's coming in the upcoming months. The reason why I was looking around like that, because my cleats are actually T90 cleats, but I realized those are my old cleats. The one in my rooms are like Tiempo, so I couldn't find them. I was gonna hold them up, but you know, even then I had those T90 cleats. I loved them. I loved them so much. But they didn't look good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they did not look good. Like, they were functional, but they did not look good at all. They had a soft spot for me because those were my first cleats. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I would not. Those weren't shoes. They weren't cleats that I was like popping out. You know, the kids who pop out and they wearing like the pink cleats or the bright yellow cleats or whatever, or like the Mercurials. Everyone wants a Mercurial. The Mercurial looks beautiful, but no one was like hype over that, at least when I was wearing them, because that was like 10 years ago, even though the T90s were popular like 20 years ago. So it wasn't really hitting like that. So I'm surprised that this is popping up as a trend. I'm gonna check it out after the pod to see exactly what the shoes that people are rocking like that. I think this is going to be one of those, like the Samba, that's a timeless shoe. I think even though it's hype right now, it makes sense because that's always been a good looking shoe. The same way like the Air Force One, when every girl was beating those into the ground, and then the Superstars before that, and everyone was beating those into the ground. Those are timeless silhouettes. The T90, I think that's going to be one that, one, won't last as long, and two, in a few years when people look back, they're going to be like, really, why was I wearing the T90s? Like, I was really just on the hype train. But I think Samba, you can look back and be like, okay, that was still a good shoe that I could still wear now or whatever. I think that's really one that's not going to last super long in the T90.
Yeah.
How do y'all
and it's
feel
also
about
like, oh, sorry.
go
One
ahead.
more thing is like, it's also the T90 is like such a shoe that's like, it's like such synthetic leather, just the look of it and the colors. Like, it's just like, it doesn't give that timeless vibe like with the material quality of it either, which I think, you know, is important for a shoe to be a real staple, like a Jordan 1, for example.
Yeah.
Fire. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Jordan 1's universal, man. That's the footwear you'll be seeing me wear for my entire life. But I was just gonna say, we were talking about like sneakers that have like a stand that like don't stick around for too long. You guys remember when the Filas, the bulky Filas, were like in style? Like, that's so crazy looking back on now, because that's like,
because people couldn't buy Yeezys, man. That was it.
yeah,
Yeezy brought the chunky shoes in, and Fila's were the affordable, easy option.
Horrible, terrible. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's funny. But hey, it is what it is, man.
T90 will be the Fila, low key.
I think it's more on that wave. It's definitely more on that wave. And I think you'll know once you see every girl wearing them outside, you're like, okay, this one's done. It's done. And I think that one's gonna happen quickly. It's gonna start happening, and then it's gonna be over super quickly. As soon as like the everyday girl who's not really into fashion like that is wearing it, and then I notice that they're wearing them constantly, that's how you know the trend's on the way out. So soon, probably by the end of July, mid-August or something, every corner you're gonna see the girl wearing them, and then by September we're on to the next. Let's be real.
When these people are buying these in the store, they got to be forced to like juggle the ball like 10 times or something.
That'll be honestly, that'd be a good marketing tactic, and two, that'd be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. I think. What was I gonna say? Man, I really was gonna say something. I completely. Oh, I was gonna say the same thing happened with the dunks, man. I know the pandas, like specifically, were the ones that just ran into the ground. Like at some point, everybody had a pair, and where you don't really see dunks as much anymore. Like I think some people you'll still see them rock their pair from a few years back, but nobody's out there going and buying dunks. You know what I mean?
I would, except for two things. The quality is absolute dog water, and two, they are so uncomfortable for like walking around, which, albeit it's a skate shoe, it's not a lifestyle walking shoe, but in this day and age, and when it was at the peak of the trend, like, bro, your design team, like, you got to make a better insole. You got to change the midsole somehow, some way, and make it so it can better fit what people are actually using the shoe for. So yeah, I think the Dunk though has that potential of an Air Force One, of a Samba. Like, it's not that complex of a shoe. It can give that timeless look, I think.
No,
Dre,
no.
you disagree. You disagree.
I'm
talking about the lows, by the way, not the highs.
Yeah, the lows. I am the biggest Dunk hater, bro. And not actually, like, I have nothing like genuinely against them, but to me, like, I never understood the appeal outside of the skate community. Like when Nike brought them back a few years ago to really start pumping them out, I was like, and I know people had Air Force One fatigue, so I was like, okay, let's go for a silhouette that's a kind of a riff, and it's different and it's a little more fresh in the moment. But if you really look, if you want to say, let's put these three next to each other, and maybe this is a whole other conversation, we can go and rank like the recent trends. But if you want to put Air Jordan 1, Air Force One, Dunks next to each other, because those are all relatively similar silhouettes. Obviously, they're a little different in the size, the shaping, and stuff, but all like the basic, if you were to describe them without someone who's never seen them, they're kind of similar, the silhouettes. Dunk is so far behind the other two, it's not even funny. Like, if I were to choose out of those three, there's no way in hell I'm choosing those Dunks, which look like the freaking Wario version to Mario that the Air Force One is. Like, Air Force One is one of the most timeless silhouettes I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the greatest sneakers ever made. A Dunk is literally like, how do I describe it? It's like I don't know if y'all ever seen Everybody Hates Chris, but it's like the versions of brands that Julius wanted them to buy.
Cookie?
Cookie, yes. Cookie.
Literally, that was never like the real brand that you wanted them to get. To me, that's what I see when I see Dunk. It's like if you ask like someone who'd never seen an Air Force One to draw an Air Force One, like it's like people's first attempt at drawing an Air Force One is a Dunk, and it's people who can't draw, and then the actual artist comes through and draws the Air Force One. Y'all could come in rebuttal, but it's facts, bro. It's facts.
That's insane.
I can't fully disagree with you. I will just say, from my personal life, I didn't have a pair of Air Force Ones till way later. What I did have in middle school was a pair of, they weren't Dunks, but they were Nike's Fugazi cheap version, which they have at the outlets, So with that in mind, I always leaned a bit more towards the Dunk silhouette. So I can speak for myself there. But
Yeah, I think
everything you said, I can also agree with partially.
Yeah, I think the dunks are just too iconic to put them on that level. And this is not to say, like, I was also tired of the trend. I think this is probably just recency bias because they're a shoe that got oversaturated by the just by everybody. You had everybody. I think it's. I think the way to measure if a sneaker is played out, it's by telling like, okay, like who do we see wearing it, and because I think there's just people who just want to wear, like, who just want to get by, and like that's not like a jab at them, but like there's people who just don't. I think I think I'm at a place where I appreciate different sneaker silhouettes, and so if I'm purchasing something, if I'm wearing something, it's because I have some type of affinity for what I'm wearing. I think when you get to a place where the people that are wearing a specific type of footwear, for example, don't really care and just want to wear, like, okay, like this is something that I see a lot, I think it looks all right, let me wear this. Like, I think when it gets to that point, I think you can tell that a sneaker is getting played out, but we can't act like the dunks are not an iconic silhouette, right? Like, I think about, there's just so many iconic models. You had like the pigeons, you had like the Freddy Cougars, the Tiffany dunks. Like, there's just so, and this is like early mid 2000s, so this isn't
Dre, you can't deny this. You can't deny this. Don't wag the finger. It has a history. It has a history.
Like,
it definitely has a history, and yes, you're going back to the peak era of dunks, and I respect that. But you're getting excited about the colorways, and there are amazing dunk colorways. Arguably, between the three, the dunk has the most creative colorways of the three that I propped up. But I'm talking about the silhouette, and I'm saying the dunk silhouette is broke man's. And if you for the rest of your life had to pick one silhouette that was all white between the three of them,
all white.
I'm just saying, because that's how you get the purest form of the silhouette. Or
you know what? That's a good way to phrase it. That's a good way to phrase it. If it was all white,
I promise you, you're not going dunk. If
I'm not.
The three, you're not going dunk. The silhouette isn't that good. Like, the colorways have helped prop it up, but I'm talking about Air Force One is a goated silhouette. It's pure. It's damn near perfect, honestly. The Jordan
you wear it once. You wear it once and it's done, pretty much.
No.
You wear it once. Air Force
people who do that, bro, that's wrong, bro. You gotta wear those into the ground like the white girls, man. Like, I'm not saying give them a clean, and then you go again.
I'm not saying I would only wear an Air Force One once, but I'm saying that the Air Force One, I would say, ages the worst out of all of them. I would say.
Let's go all black then. Let's go all black.
I'm still not going Air Force Ones.
You're on crack.
I take the dunk after that, because I think, and I like Air Force Ones. I respect the Air Force Ones. I would love, if I had the money, if I had the means, man, the Off-Whites or the CPFMs. I think those are iconic. I think those are very recent pairs that look very, that grab my attention. But like, I'm also, I just want to go back to dunks for just a little bit. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, we got, and I know, I get it. Yes, if it's all white and you would rather, I can see why there's not an appreciation for the shape of the sneaker. But I will also say, maybe I'm also biased because I had a skating phase. Like, I myself didn't skate, but I was into skate fashion when I was in middle school. Like, I was rocking like Zoo York, I was rocking like Element, I was rocking those, crazy, man. I miss those days, I'm not gonna lie. But I have an appreciation for the dunk because they were so tied to the skate culture, and I understand why people can say that they look like an ugly shoe with the fat tongue and the low top, and it just looks a little bit like bulky, but not necessarily like it can just look a little weird, maybe like DC sneaker kind of vibes. So I understand why you would say that the silhouette isn't nice, but I think when you combine just how, for me, like the nostalgia, in addition to the fact that they're an iconic sneaker, and then you add on to the fact that we saw some pretty iconic pairs during the last run. Like during this like recent rise, during this recent boom, we had like the Cactus Jack dunk, Cactus Jack dunks,
Which
Ben
one?
and Jerry's. Oh, the ones with the bandana.
Bro, Ben
Like,
and Jerry's is so long ago at this point. That's not part of the recent run.
that was part. Yes, it was during the pandemic. It was within the last 5 years. But the Ben and Jerry's, the Ben and Jerry's were the Ben and Jerry's were iconic, man.
Oh,
What
they're
else did-
iconic. But
I'll give you even.
I'm never wearing
even
that. I'm never wearing that. Let's be real.
No, but they're
Who's-
iconic.
who's-
They're iconic.
Bro,
They're
if I want
iconic.
Ben
They're
and Jerry's,
iconic.
I will go buy Ben and Jerry's, bro. Who's putting
No.
that on their feet?
We're not doing that. We're not
literally
doing that. We're not
5 years
doing that.
ago, 2020.
We're not doing that. I'll
Okay,
give you
I'm
a
the
recent
dunkator.
one.
Hold up.
I'll
I'm the
give you a
dunkator.
recent one. I'll give you a recent one, and
Yeah.
I will. Almost knocked over my mic. Just doing that. I'll give you a recent one, and I will say I am biased. I am 100% biased. But the Jarritos dunks, that is an iconic.
Mhm.
As soon as you rolled your R, I knew it was over,
Yeah.
bro. I knew it was over.
That's an iconic Mexican soda. They had a crazy cool drop with Nike. I was a fan of that drop as well. And even what I will say about that drop too, like I was explaining that to like people in my family and just trying to show them like, yo, this is really cool. Like I want y'all to see, like even people who weren't into sneakers and like they were like, nah, they were like, oh, that's pretty solid. Like that's pretty cool. So I don't know.
At the same time,
I think I just named enough pairs.
You get some beauties like that, but then you get what I just saw literally this past week. The Lego Nike Dunks coming out that are the most dog water pair for collaboration. Like if you think Lego Dunk, you think, okay, maybe like they implement the brick somehow, the studs, the cool colors. And here you got this black and white shoe that looks like it's straight out of a cartoon panel.
That's
with
the Diary of a Wimpy Kid dunks, man.
the Diary of a Wimpy Kid dunks, the Joshua Vitas dunks, who, mind you, he has collaborated with Nike before, and they just kind of ripped his whole style for this shoe. So, I like the dunk. I like the colors. I think it went overkill with the trend. I think it went overkill with the fact that it was pandas people obsessed with. Like, just, there's so many cool colors, so many cool options. Why are we obsessing about pandas? But they've definitely, I think their real classics are in the vault, like from way back. I'm blanking on the name. I have to find the colorway of the one I want to mention, but yeah, that's
Yeah, I look at those Lego dunks and oh my goodness. If you've ever wanted to, like, I didn't even know these existed, which is so funny based on the argument I was just making. This Lego dunk is the perfect example of what I was just talking about. This perfectly like highlights and outlines this silhouette, and it looks terrible, bro. Imagine this might work with an Air Force One because the silhouette is just that cold, bro. The dunk, the silhouette can't hold up to a poor colorway. It literally can't. And maybe you say, oh, there shouldn't be any poor colorways, but there are some sneakers that just through the strength of the silhouette, you can get by with some iffy colorways. This is not one.
Yeah. I think the Air Force One here's how I'll label it. I think if we're going like all one color or mostly one color, Air Force One wins every day. But as soon as you get to like 2 to 3 colors that are balanced throughout the shoe, I think the dunk wins that every time. You cannot have a solid color dunk. You cannot. But it's the pairing of the silhouette with the colorway options it can have. That is what makes it special.
That's a fair argument. I still think out of the 3, it's not even close. But I know we didn't really talk much about Jordan 1, so I know Eric,
We don't need to. We know those. We know where those stand.
Y'all don't want that. Y'all don't want the smoke. Respectfully.
Yeah, I know you're the Jordan 1 glazer. I think Jordan 1 solid number 2 in that ranking, but we'll save that for another episode.
You're just saying that, bro. Yeah, I don't want the smoke.
I swear to you, I've never owned a pair of Jordan 1s, and I've owned multiple Air Force 1s in my life. I promise you, I'm not just saying that. Like, I genuinely.
Hey, man, this goes back to my advice, Dre. you know, go out of your comfort zone a little bit. Maybe buy yourself a pair of Jordan 1s and be like,
I'd rather buy
you know
twos.
what, maybe.
I'm trolling. Let's end the
Twos,
episode.
twos I wouldn't be mad at, man. Twos.
Nah,
Hey.
you're wrong for that take.
I was actually trolling. I'm not about the Air Force One, but the twos I'm trolling.
Me knowing like what you like, I think twos would suit you. But that's
I don't know whether or not to be offended by that.
I think you should be
No.
offended by that. I was about
No,
to
I
say
don't
that
think-
is a
I
crazy
mean that.
diss.
I think twos are really cool. Like,
Yeah,
I would
man, those
love-
bum ass bowling shoes really fit your vibe.
Let's not do that. Let's not do. I like twos. I don't
Those
think.
fat ass bowling shoes. The bowling XLs are really.
Nah, man. Let's not do that. Can't do that.
You
Let's
buy
not
a
do
pair
that.
of twos, and then I'm with you. If them men do it, I'll do it too.
I was close to doing it when the Union LA collab came out. I
Oh
was
nah,
close to doing that. Listen.
those are hideous.
I'm
Ray,
not-
look those up if you don't know
You know,
those.
those like the beige kind of ones.
Yeah.
Without the
They
new
had
ones.
like yeah, they had. I think they had like beige, and I think they also had blue. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Nah, I
Yeah,
stand.
man,
I stand
you
on
could
it.
get them for $60 on eBay, man. No one wants them.
Even better, man. Even
Oh,
better,
you
man.
got yourself a steal, Loki. Eric, you got yourself a steal if you were still interested in them.
Listen, maybe when it hits fall, we'll see. We'll see. Because I'm no chance I'm wearing these over the summer.
Fair, yeah.
But I don't see an issue with these, man. I don't care.
Which one, the beige or the blue?
Either. I would rock
Okay.
either.
You're crazy.
I prefer the beige.
The
I prefer the beige, but I don't think
cheese
these are
grater
terrible.
2s, man.
Yo, that just brought me back. Actually, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Okay.
Ah,
We're getting out of
Yeah.
hand. We're getting out of hand.
cheese graters, yo. Oh my. Yeah, that just brought me.
Okay, if you
I have
wanna
no
know-
idea what you're referring to. I'm
Yeah,
just.
but I think it's something that probably should not be said on the pod based on the way he's reacting. So if you want to hear the Cheese Grater 2 story, join the Patreon. But
It's great.
which does not exist.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, that's so funny, bro. That's so funny.
Okay,
I'm
now
sorry,
I'm dying to hear it
you know
because
what?
your memory's crazy. So we'll wrap up the pod. We were going to talk about the Club World Cup, but we got into a debate. So screw the Club World Cup, bro. We don't care.
Yeah, no one
Hopefully-
cares about that.
Hopefully, Chelsea advance and get a little bit more money. But honestly, I cannot care less. But if we win it, I promise you, I'll come back on this pod and act like it's the most important competition. I have no shame. I promise you, I will do that. So we'll catch you that time. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Ah, man.
Oh, exclusive New York news, man. At the time of this recording, it has just come out that Jordan Clarkson intends to sign with the New York Knicks. I'm excited. I'm gonna wait till I see that number, though, see how much he signed for, see how much we're paying him. But yo, we're growing our bench, man. So I'm excited, man. This very last minute news. We were just talking about the Utah Jazz, so I thought it was only right. But just want to put that out there. That's it.
There you
Anything
go.
else, Steve?
Nah, man, just stay away from the cheese grater 2s, man. That's all I got.
Fair. Okay, well, that was a fun episode. A lot of debate there at the end. Let us know what you think about the Air Force One. We'll talk about Jordan ones another time, but just mainly keep it to Air Force One and dunk debate because I feel very passionately about that, and we had a good back and forth there. So maybe I'm gonna look crazy and people are gonna say no dunks, I'm glazing. Give me the Tiffany's, give me the Ben and Jerry's. You just want to eat ice cream, bro. Let's keep it real. But anyway, we'll talk about. We'll get back to that. We'll talk about that another time. I think that'll be a fun episode to do about like the recent trends and all the shoes that have been popular like that. And we'll also talk about Jordan Clarkson. Maybe we'll open the next episode if we find out the number. You can get hype about that for the next episode as well. But I appreciate you guys checking in with us as always. Only a couple topics today, but we talked a decent amount about them. So let us know what you think about both. And we'll be back next week. Hopefully some big news topics will come out in the interim. More transfers I know have been slightly, I didn't talk about this at the top of the show. Chelsea, we've signed João Pedro and Gittins from Dortmund. So yeah, hey, low-key, our attack is looking a bunch of not the best players ever, but a lot of potential. So I'm excited about that. And NBA free agency opened, I think, today or yesterday as well. So a lot of big signings happening in that world too. So check us out next week. We'll be back. We'll be talking about all that. Like, subscribe, all the stuff Eric said at the top. I'm not instant replaying. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Sir. Peace out, y'all. Have a good one.